Hey guys, how are you all doing? This is the MMA breakdown with my predictions for UFC on Fox Sports 1, Sonnen versus Shogun. Um, just gonna run through the card top to bottom, give you my thoughts on all the fights, who I think is gonna win. And to start off, I'm gonna say I think this is a really great card from top to bottom. It's stacked with really um, exciting, fun matchups. If you're gonna pay $50 for a pay-per-view card, uh, a non-title fight pay-per-view card, I think this would be it. There's a lot of great fights on this card, but let's get started. On the Facebook preliminary card, first bout at lightweight, Ramsey Nijem versus James Vick. Both guys from Tough. Nijem from Tough 13. He's kind of been up and down. I think he lost in the Ultimate Fighter finale to Tony Ferguson, then had a 3-fight win streak with one finish in there against kind of weak competition, and then lost his last fight, got knocked out by Miles Jury. James Vick was on the Tough Live season and was doing pretty well on the show. He was doing good against Michael Chiesa in the house, but got taken down and got finished quickly. Vic has pretty good boxing. Nijem, I think, has faster hands. And he's also a real good wrestler. I think I'll go with Nijem to win by decision with takedowns. That seems to be Vic's weakness, is on the ground. When Chiesa take him down, like I said, he just got on top and finished him real easily. So I'm going to go with Nijem by decision. Next up, light heavyweight bout, Cody Donovan versus Ovince St. Preux. I really like Cody Donovan's last fight against Nick Penner. He had an exciting knockout in that fight, but seemed still really green, not very technical. And Ovince St. Preux, I didn't like his last fight at all against Gian Viante. That was that eye poke fight, or it ended by eye poke. He was using a lot of leg kicks in that fight. Seemed to be kind of technical, but really methodical. Never turned it on. So I have to go with Cody Donovan. His last win was more inspirational, and he seems like he'll be hunting for the finish more. So I'm going to go with Cody Donovan by TKO. I don't think it'll happen early, probably second or third round. And the last fight on the Facebook card, featherweight bout, Manny Gamburian versus Cole Miller. Manny Gamburian, I think he's been on kind of a downslide for a while. He had a 3-fight losing streak before picking up a win against Michihiro Omigawa in his last fight, but he won that fight by decision, and before that, none of his fights were too impressive. Got knocked out by Aldo, lost a decision to Tyson Griffin, and lost to decision to Diego Nunez, and won the decision against Omigawa, but he's just looked uninspired. I don't think he's the same guy he used to be. The win over Mike Brown, the knockout, that was a great fight, but I don't really see the fire there anymore. Cole Miller, kind of in the same boat, although he did get a finish in his last fight against Bart Palashevsky. Before that, he had a little losing streak against Nam Fan and Steven Seiler. and he doesn't seem to be doing too well on the feet anymore. Got outboxed by Nam Fan and Steven Seiler. You know, his real strength is on the ground. I think Gambarian's going to win the stand-up battle. I could see Gambarian winning it, even catching Miller with a big punch. But I have to go with Miller. I think he's going to take him down eventually and choke him out. So Miller by submission. So that's the Facebook card. And now the preliminary card, which is also going to be on the Fox Sports 1 channel. Featherweight bout, Diego Brandao versus Daniel Pineda. Brandao, tough 15 winner. And Daniel Pineda, a guy who came into the UFC, came in with a bang. I think he had 2 finishes and took those fights within a short time frame of each other. And then he had a few losses. Lost to Mike Brown by decision. Got knocked out by Antonio Carvalho. But his last fight, I was really impressed with him. He had a submission over Justin Lawrence with a Kimura in the first round. And that was a real one-armed Kimura. People talk about Phil Davis's submission over Tim Boetsch, which was amazing. But he did use 2 arms in that submission. Pineda pulled off a real one-arm Kimura. It was really nice to watch. But Brandao, his jiu-jitsu is just very good. We saw in his last fight against Pablo Garza, it took him down real easily and was real composed on top and passed his guard to get the arm triangle choke. And we also know he's real dangerous on the feet when he wants to be, although I think he's kind of calmed that down in his last few fights. He doesn't go crazy, which I think could be a good thing for him, but Pineda's real scrappy. He likes to make the fight a real brawl. I think he's very good. But I think Brandau's just going to be better. And I think I'm going to go with Brandao by... I could see Brandao winning by submission or on the feet, TKO. I don't think we've seen too much of Pineda's hands. All of his wins have been by submission in the UFC. But I'm going to go with Brandao. Next up, Mike Brown versus Steven Seiler. Mike Brown somehow has been able to stay in the UFC. He's been able to win his fights. Uses a lot of wrestling with some boxing in there, but he doesn't seem to be able to finish people anymore. And Steven Seiler, this guy's an animal. He's so exciting. Just fights with so much tenacity. He's 4-1 in the UFC after his run on Tough, and he's had some real big wins already. Cole Miller, he had the slip up against Darren Elkins, got out wrestled in that fight, and the rest of his wins were by decision. No, actually got a submission win over Joey Gambino, but the rest of his wins were by decision. But he fights really hard. He's a dangerous guy. I think he's very good on the ground. We saw in his last fight against Kurt Hollabaugh, he was able to keep back control for a lot of the fight and just beat him up from top position. But his loss against Darren Elkins, where he got out wrestled, that makes me feel like Mike Brown's going to be able to out wrestle him. That's usually how Brown wins his fights. But it's a dangerous fight. I could see Elkins getting a submission and just beating him up on the feet. I think, Seiler. I think Seiler's gas tank also runs a lot deeper than Mike Brown's these days. Seiler is really young and Mike Brown's an older guy. I think it's going to be an exciting fight. It's tough for me if I had to pick. Gosh, I think I'm gonna go with Steven Siler by decision. I think he could get some more punches in on the feet, hurt Mike Brown a little bit. It's really gonna depend, I think, if Siler can defend the takedowns or if he does get taken down, if he'll be able to get back up. If Brown wins, I think it'll be a decision and mostly decided by control, by taking him down. But I'm going to go with Siler. Next up, featherweight bout, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. This is a great fight, really exciting. McGregor had so much hype behind him coming into the UFC and easily knocked out Marcus Brimage. That was such a beautiful performance. McGregor seemed really composed, and it didn't even seem like he had much wind up in the shots he threw, but just threw real crisp shots, and Marcus Brimage just fell. And Max Holloway, this guy's improved so much fight to fight. I was really impressed in his last fight against Bermudez. I thought Dennis Bermudez would win that fight. I thought he'd be able to take Holloway down and push a really high pace, but Holloway really defended the takedowns well, except for the last round, which probably ended up costing him the fight, but his takedown defense seemed to be really improved. And his hands, he's got real technical striking. We saw against Justin Lawrence that Holloway, he put him down with a body shot, I think, and then finished him off, but Holloway's got real good striking, a lot of spinning back kicks and unorthodox stuff. I think he'll have the speed advantage on McGregor. But both of these guys, I think, have a lot of talent and have a lot of upside. But I got to go with Holloway. I think he's got he does have more experience in the UFC, and I think his hands are just going to be a little better than McGregor. I don't know. I've never seen McGregor fight other than his UFC debut against Marcus Brimage, but I think Holloway will get it done. And then the last fight on the prelim card on Fox Sports 1, Brad One Punch Pickett versus Michael Mayday McDonald. This is a really good fight. This is going to be so exciting. Probably fight of the night. And I'm back and forth on this one. Both guys are really good. I think McDonald is just a little bit better. Pickett, I think, will have the better wrestling, but we saw in his fight against Eddie Wineland that he really struggled to get inside. He's a shorter fighter. He has shorter reach. McDonald, I don't believe he's as tall or as long as Wineland, but I do think he has better striking at range, and we might see Pickett struggle again to get inside. But if Pickett does get inside, man, his nickname really fits him well, One Punch. He's got so much power if he can get inside. He has real good uppercuts, really powerful. Knocked out Yves Jabouin with an uppercut. I think he has... Well, both guys have a lot of power. You know, McDonald just blew through Miguel Torres and Alex Soto and even hurt Hayden Barrow in the title fight. But I think McDonald's just a little bit better. He's younger. Yeah, I'm going to go with McDonald. I think he'll win a decision, but I can definitely see Pickett getting the knockout or just outworking him with wrestling. Pickett's got really good wrestling for a British guy, and not even just for a British guy, for any fighter. He out-wrestled Mike Easton in his last fight, which was really impressive, but I got to go with McDonald, I think. But again, I can see either guy winning this easily. But now on to the main card, which is stacked. I love it. Great card. I'd say it's pay-per-view worthy, although it doesn't have a title fight, but it's not a pay-per-view. It's free, and it's a really great card. I'm really looking forward to it. But first up, lightweight bout, Joe Lozon versus Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, when he lost his fight against Jonathan Brookins in the tough finale, I thought that would be it for him, but man, he came back with some real good wins. He was on a bit of a win streak there, a real good one. I think he beat Edwin. Hold on here. Edward Falaloto had the loss to Paul Sass, but then was on a real good win streak where he beat Shane Roller, Tony Ferguson, and the fight against Castillo. I thought that was the turning point. He got hurt badly in that fight with a big punch and nearly submitted, but found a way to hang on and then just knocked out Castillo with a real short punch. I thought he was going to turn the corner there and really get into the elite of the division, but then just had some really bad losses against Miles Jury, just got outworked, out-wrestled, and did nothing in that fight. And then against Reza Madadi, he was losing the wrestling battle, and for a moment there it looked like he was going to win, had a real good head kick, nearly knocked Madadi out, but ended up getting submitted later on. I don't know what's going on with Michael Johnson. I don't know where his head is at, but he seems to be, losing these fights that he should win. And Lozon, he's never a head guy. At least that's how I see it. He always comes to fight real hard. But Michael Johnson, he's still always dangerous on his feet, and he's got pretty good wrestling. He's a real athletic guy. Lozon's going to be at a real disadvantage as far as athleticism goes, but I want to say Lozon coming off of the Jim Miller loss where he just got beat up, and I think we really saw the limitations of his striking game in that fight. Although he did manage to catch Melvin Guillard. It's a tough one for me. I really think Michael Johnson's going to be real dangerous on the feet, but I think Lozon can outlast him. He'll probably win the cardio battle. And Lozon's got way more dangerous submissions than Reza Madadi. Oh man, I'm going to go with Lozon with the submission, but I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Johnson poses if he's a little too dangerous on the feet for Lozon. Next up at middleweight, we have Uriah Hall versus John Howard. Uriah Hall coming off that really uninspiring loss against Kelvin Gastelum at the tough finale after just running through people on the show and being a killer. But I don't see anything John Howard can do. He's been out of the UFC for 2 years now. Lost to Matt Brown in a really kind of lackluster decision loss. But let's see who he's beaten since he got cut from the UFC. Dennis Olsen, Todd Chattel. Seems like he was on the regional circuit. He's gone 6-1 since being cut from the UFC. He has a few finishes in there, all KO or TKO, but I'm not seeing any recognizable names. Looks like all regional circuit guys, and lost to Leandro Silva also in that run. Yeah, I got to go with Uriah Hall. I think Howard, from what we've seen before from him in the UFC, has been pretty one-dimensional. He's got big power, but that's about all he has. Doesn't have technical striking. I think Uriah Hall's going to knock him out. Uriah Hall's got great power, real fast, great combinations. Got to go with Uriah Hall. I'll be pretty surprised if Howard wins. Next up, great fight at welterweight: Matt Brown versus Mike Pyle. Two older veterans who really seem to turn it on and put together a real win streak late in their careers, which is really rare but beautiful to see. Matt Brown, his win streak, I think has been, well, both guys have been finishing guys, but I think Matt Brown, he's gotten more media coverage. He's been a little bigger story. He's on a 5-fight win streak with 4 finishes. Last fight against Jordan Mean, a real barn burner. He got hurt in that fight but came back and ended up finishing Jordan Mean. Pyle also on a real good win streak. Although his last fight against Rick Story, real close fight, could have lost it. He's on a 4-fight win streak. I think Matt Brown, well, I don't know. I can't really say either guy's been fighting tougher competition. Matt Brown beat Jordan Mean in his last fight, a real good up-and-comer, but Pyle got a win over Story. Pyle has the more complete game. He'll take you down if you get him on his back. He's got good submissions he's got real active guard, nearly submitted Story with Kimura from his back. He's also won by triangle choke in the UFC. He's taller than Brown too, I believe, 6'1", and Brown is he's 6 foot. He's not that much taller, but Pyle, he uses that tie clinch. We saw him knock out James Head with knees. It's a tough one. Like I said, Pyle, I think he has a more complete game. He's got the wrestling, jiu-jitsu, although Matt Brown has, when he loses, it's usually by submission. He never really loses on his feet. And his submissions are getting better too, I think. We saw in the Swick fight, he locked up a Darce choke for a little bit, but I think Matt Brown's going to push the pace a little bit more. He's going to be in Pyle's face. I don't know about Pyle's chin. He got caught with a huge punch from Rick Story that nearly knocked him out. Brown also has youth on his side. Gosh, it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Matt Brown by knockout, just because the guy is so good on his feet, especially with his late career resurgence. Yeah, going through his entire professional MMA record, he's never lost by TKO or KO. All submission losses, which Pyle's definitely capable of, but I think Brown is just going to be more tenacious. He's going to throw more punches on the feet than Pyle, and I don't know if Pyle will be able to take him down. And it's a real close fight. I just think Brown's going to be better on the feet. But the winner of this fight, I think, should really break through to the top 10. Both guys on great win streaks, finishing guys. This is a real important fight for both guys. Next up, bantamweight fight, Uriah Faber versus Yuri Alcantara. A real dangerous fight for Faber in that he's fighting I want to say lower level, because Alcantara's been real good in the UFC, but against a smaller name fighter. This would be a real bad loss for Faber. But Alcantara has really impressed me. He's been really good since he came into the UFC. This guy knocked out Ricardo Lamas in WEC, but he's a real good grappler. Uses a lot of leg kicks. Ran through Iliard Santos in his last fight. Just was all over him with punches and kicks. Has had one loss in the UFC. Got out wrestled by Hakran Diaz. And I kind of think that might be his weakness, is wrestling, and Faber's a great wrestler. So I could see Faber out wrestling him and getting a submission. Faber's been real good too. This guy climbs to the top every time, gets real close to the title or fights for the title and then loses. But since he lost to Barao, he's had a real good streak too, beating Ivan Menjivar and Scott Jorgensen. Real good guys, and getting submission wins in both those fights. The Scott Jorgensen fight, though, Faber came on real strong in the beginning. Hands looked good, but seemed to really fade. The gas tank was looking like it was running low. He's an older guy. I don't think he has as much gas or as much athleticism as he used to, but I think Faber's going to get it done with the wrestling. I think he'll get the submission win. But Alcantara is real dangerous, real good striking. I think he'll definitely have the speed advantage over Faber. Yeah, a dangerous fight for both guys. I think Faber's just a little too seasoned, though. Too much experience. Too good a wrestler. So I'm going to go with Faber by submission, but wouldn't be all that surprised if Alcantara was able to pull this one out. Co-main event at heavyweight, Alistair Overeem versus Travis Happa Brown. Happa Brown, after the knockout loss to Bigfoot Silva, which was a really unfortunate loss for him because he was clearly hurt in that fight. Hurt his hamstring, and you could see just couldn't put any weight on that leg, and Silva knocked him out. And then Overeem coming off a real bad loss to Silva too. I actually didn't realize that these are the last two guys that Bigfoot Silva beat. But Overeem looked just sluggish and slow in his last fight. Was beating Bigfoot Silva for 2 rounds, but didn't seem to be able to really turn it up to get the finish. His punches didn't seem to be all that damaging to Silva. I really think Brown wins this. I think he's got real good movement, especially for a heavyweight. Real light on his feet, moves in and out. Kind of like he caught Struve when Struve was coming in, and same kind of thing. Brown was using a lot of movement. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Overeem is he's just too plodding on his feet. He's going to be a little too slow, a little too stationary. I think Brown's going to bounce around, move in and out real quick, and catch him with a big, heavy shot. Yeah, I really like Brown in this fight by KO. I know that's a very unpopular pick, and I'll just mention that I've only seen Overeem's fights in the UFC, Brock Lesnar, and then his last loss to Bigfoot Silva. So that's all I can really judge him on. I understand he had a lot of great wins in Pride and Strikeforce, those other organizations, but just from what I've seen, I got to go with Travis Brown. I just think I think he's a healthier guy. Overeem, I don't think he moves too well anymore, especially in his last fight against Silva. Yeah, Brown with his footwork, his in and out movement, and his big power. I think he's gonna beat Overeem. I'm confident in that pick, but